Okay, here we go. Mic might be a little loud. Turn her down just a hair. All right, should be better. What's up, Goat? How you doing, man? Give everybody a couple minutes to get in here. Who all's gonna come in? Okay. Let's see. Okay, that should make it work now, I think. Might need to redo it. Oh, yeah. I hear you. All right, a couple more minutes for everybody to get it in, and then we will get started with our Bible study for this evening. Give it, how long? Let's see, 4 minutes. We'll give them about another half a minute or so. Give them about another half a minute or so. Good evening, Mr. Lee. How you doing, bud? Okay, for whatever reason, that's not working. Whatever. Sorry, we'll get it. We'll get it. Just a couple more seconds, and we'll get started. Try to make sure everybody has time to get in. Trying to wake up. What have you been sleeping all day? Bum. It's fine. It is early evening, sir. It's 6 there? Oh, yeah, it is 6. Sorry. I knew that. I was looking at the live time and thinking to the clock. I know it's 6. We're in the same time zone. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Anybody wants to pop in later in the middle of it can just pop in the middle of it. But tonight we're going to be talking about Matthew chapter 5. We're going to be looking at the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes are important. And they're important just for the simple fact that the way I like to put it's kind of corny and dumb, but the way I like to put it is the Beatitudes is how your attitude should be as a Christian. So it's how you Christian be attitude. Anyway, I know it's dumb, corny, but it's how I remember it. Anyway, this is how Christians should behave. This is information. Jesus has taken his disciples. He's got them. They're up on a mount, separate, just him and them, and he's teaching and talking to them. And this is where he gets down into what you might look at as the nitty-gritty of Christian behavior, how they should behave as things go forward, because we're not far from him to where he sends them out on their own to start learning how to spread the gospel themselves. He'll send them out in twos, kind of get, let them get the experience of what it is to spread the gospel to the world and things like that in local areas, and to get used to how people are going to treat them, because they're not going to be treated well by everybody. Some will accept, most will not. But they need to get used to how that feels. It's real life, real world experience. So before they get out there and experience that, they need to understand how they should and should not behave, and how their behavior should be when they get in those situations. So these are good lessons for us today on a spiritual stance, that just as they were rejected then, we are rejected today. But our behavior isn't any different. Our expectation of our behavior shouldn't be any different. We should still be behaving as Christ expects us to behave. So here's where he takes them, he sits down, and he begins to teach. And here's what we're looking at. So it starts off, says, seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came unto him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We're not going to get rich off this. There's not going to be wealth and fame and all of that other stuff. So those that are poor, it's okay. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Remember, our whole thing is we're to show the love of God, and God's love that we're going to find out through Christ is mercy. He gave his son's life so that all of us sinners could have mercy and make it into heaven if we wanted to. So he said, Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Pure in heart, those truly dedicated to him, those truly live for him. There's a lot of people, especially nowadays, there's a lot of people that wear the tag as Christian, but very few people live it. So blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We're persecuted for our religious beliefs, and right now Christianity is one of the biggest persecuted religions in the world. If you look simply just at the United States, look at the division in the country now between, I'll say between blue and red, with ideas over certain laws. Biggest things being like the differences in abortion laws and things like that. Christians feel one way about it, and they are highly persecuted by a lot of the country and a lot of the world because of how they feel about it. That's how it is. He said, Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evils against you falsely for my sake. And notice he put falsely in there. People will trash talk and talk bad about a lot of people, but unfortunately, a lot of times what they say, half of what they say is true. Now, they might exaggerate or embellish or emphasize something, probably more than they should, but half the time what people are saying about a lot of these people is true. But for those that live for Christ, for those that live for him, those that are truly dedicated to him and peacemakers and pure in heart and merciful and just trying to show the love of God, those are falsely accused of things. And he said that, blessed are you. He goes, rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. So he's saying, you're not alone. This happened beforehand. The prophets before us were persecuted. The disciples, the apostles were persecuted, Paul. The disciples were all persecuted. Jesus himself was persecuted. And even before Jesus, the prophets were persecuted. Daniel, Elisha, Elijah. There were so many in the Old Testament. Moses was persecuted. Moses was considered a traitor even by his own people. He was a Jew, but was raised as an Egyptian in Pharaoh's house. So he was considered a betrayer. So even he was persecuted for that. So, you know, he's telling them, it's like, look, you're going to go through things, you're going to endure things, but those that hold true, those that are meek, not weak, but meek, those that are merciful, those that remember to forgive, those that are pure in heart, that follow the will of God and stick with it, those that look to the light and follow where Christ has led. And when people come and talk about you, they're going to talk about you. They're going to persecute you. Just as in the days of old, there's going to be times where we're going to be hunted down and killed for the way we believe. You even see some stuff like that now in, you've seen mass shootings in churches and stuff like that. Now, granted, some of those aren't necessarily religious bound. They're somebody got offended in the church, or there's somebody in there they don't like, or, you know, and it's more of a hate crime than anything else. But there are still a lot of mass church shootings, synagogues getting shot up. You know, you see a lot of it even now, and it's just going to continue to get worse. It's going to get to the point where we're actually going to be like the apostles and the disciples were, hunted down and killed or martyred for the way that we believe, for trying to live a good Christian life. Hi, Robert. How you doing, man? So you're going to see that, and it's going to happen, but you're not alone. Don't forget to hang on, because it happened before you. It was happening before you got here. It's been happening for centuries. It's happening. We've seen it in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and we're going to continue to see it. And it's just going to continue to grow worse. And he makes a statement. This next statement in chapter 17 is very important, because he is accused very much so of coming and being an abomination to God's law. He is accused of claiming to be God and not be God, and it's a huge deal. But he says this. He says, "Think not that I've come to destroy the law or the prophets." Pardon me, had to sneeze. He said, "I am not come to destroy, but fulfill the law." And what he's saying there is he needs to fulfill the path of salvation, the path of righteousness. He's coming to fulfill that. He's not coming to destroy. They're saying, well, he destroyed the old laws of the Old Testament. He did not destroy them. The law of the Old Testament is plain and simple, which still holds today, and that is the law of the 10 Commandments. Those commandments, he came to fulfill those. And the purpose of the law was to reveal sin in your life. That was to let you know that you were doing wrong. If you look at the world before the 10 Commandments came, there was no law. There was no rules written down to go by, but they didn't really have an idea what was right from wrong, other than the fact that when God created us, he gave us a little bit of a conscience. You know, there's people that know to do good. There's people that knew how to be respectable people and treat people nice and be what we would consider neighborly. And then there's people who use the excuse that there is no rules to act however I want to. So before the 10 Commandments actually came, there were no rules. The only rule mentioned before that was don't eat of the tree in the garden. Mankind, Adam and Eve ruined that. They did that. So out in the world, there wasn't really anything to saying, yes, this is wrong. You know, that's not right. Anything like that. The 10 Commandments came and became the law to show what you should and should not do in life. Saying you can't behave this way. You can't act this way. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do that. They became the laws. And if you look, even a lot of our laws today, a lot of the laws, even now, if you get into something like the weird amendments and stuff, you may not be able to do this, but all the laws basically track back to the 10 Commandments. They're branched off that. Moses made several laws off the 10 Commandments even. The Israel people created like another 600 and some laws off of it, but they all branched out of the 10 Commandments. That is the basis and the basic foundation of law. So he says, I didn't come to destroy the law. He's not here to destroy it. He's not doing away with the 10 Commandments. But he's taken those 10 Commandments and what they do, which is they reveal sin in our lives. They show us what is right and what is wrong. He says, I didn't come to destroy the law or the prophets or what they've done. He said, I've not come to destroy, but to fulfill. He's came to fulfill the law. He's came to provide. Now, if you look in the Old Testament, in order to do anything about the sin that they have committed from the time that the 10 Commandments were created, there was a sacrifice that had to be made. There was a lamb that had to be sacrificed for their sin. That was laying the groundwork for the redemption of sin, not necessarily at that time what was more a temporary correction. Really, what it done was hold sin back for a year, but every year you had to go and do a sacrifice again for all that sin that you, and in reality, if you look at that, sin builds up. So you're not getting rid of any, you're just pushing it back and adding more on top of it. Christ came, and he came to be the sacrifice that would actually get rid of that sin, that would wipe it clean, not just push it back for a while to build more on it, but he would actually wipe it clean and get rid of it completely altogether. So he said, I didn't come to destroy the law, but I came to fulfill it. He says, for verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. So there's nothing's going to get out around the law. You're not going to be able to loophole the law. You're not going to get away from it. And that his way and the way that God has laid out is the way that's going to happen. And it has to be that way. He says, whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, that the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So those that teach that the commandments are bendable, that you can loophole them, don't lie. Well, little white lies are okay if you're doing it to preserve somebody's feelings. That's false. That's wrong. Not only are you breaking that, but now you're teaching that. And you're going to be considered the least in the kingdom of heaven, which means you're not going to make it in there. It doesn't mean you're making it in. That just means that you are the least. You're on the bottom. You're not good. But if you can uphold and live by those commandments and teach those commandments to have others, to teach others to live by them as well, you're considered great. You'll be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But he says, for I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. And I like how he says, I like the way he puts this, because the scribes and the Pharisees, their righteousness in their minds is way up here while everybody else is way down here. When in reality, theirs is way down here. They have no true righteousness. Everything is self-righteousness with them. But he said, unless except yours exceeds them, you'll in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. You've got to do better than what they're doing. This is also an instructional on how, because the scribes and the Pharisees are teaching people how to live. And these are the guys that are supposed to be teaching how to live according to the 10 Commandments and how to live according to what God expected us. But they're teaching to do it how they done it and how to follow in their footsteps. And they've already messed up. They're off the path. So don't follow them in the way that they're walking. They've doomed themselves, and if you follow, you will doom yourself as well. So avoid that. Be careful of that. He says, ye have heard that it was said that of them of old time that thou shalt not kill. whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. There was actually there was a law back in the Old Testament that if you killed somebody, you were put to death. However you did eliminate somebody, you were to be put down the same way. So, you know, it says, you've heard it said of the old time, thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill be in danger of the judgment. You'll be judged and put to death yourself. He says, but I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment, and whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council, but whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hell fire. So, you know, if you're angry with your brother without cause, you know, a lot of the people, they would be mad at, well, let's put it like this way today. You've got your friends, you got your family. If somebody offends your friends or family, you get mad, and you're mad at that person because they hurt somebody you love. But in reality, your anger at them is unjust because they did not do anything to you. You were not the one offended. It's okay to be hurt for your family, for your brother, for your sister, for your friend. It's okay to be hurt for them, but it is actually not okay to be angry and seek justice for them when you were not the one offended. That is their job to do so. Support them and love them, but don't go seeking justice. There would be people that their friends would be hurt, and I'm not going to go through some of the crimes that were actually associated with this because they are bad crimes. Some platforms don't appreciate them being mentioned, so we'll kind of tread lightly on that. But they would go and seek for justice for their friend or for their family. And in reality, that's wrong. He says, whoever shall say Raca shall be in danger of the council, but whosoever shall say thou fool should be in danger of hell fire. This is where it's very important that you don't call people a fool. Now, I know, you know, there's a lot of other words you can call people that's, you know, recorded as being a lot worse than just calling somebody a fool. But you've got to be careful what you're saying and what you're doing, especially whenever you're in front of people, because what you say in front of other people can absolutely affect you and people's other points of view of you as well. He says, therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come offer thy gift. So if you're going to ask for forgiveness, but you remember that you've got an issue with your brother, they've got an issue with you, maybe you upset them, hurt their feelings and made them mad. Before you go to the altar, go to your brother and make things correct. And literally, no lie, this is what God expects you to do. Go and apologize. Did you do it? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But you should go and apologize and try to make things right. Apologize for their feelings being hurt. Apologize for them being offended. Make things right with them, and then come back and ask for forgiveness. If you're asking for forgiveness for that, then more likely you did it anyway. But you need to go make it right before you ask for forgiveness. He says, agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing, which means you've paid the penalty of your crime. So, you know, kind of be careful what you do. And if you do something, if you do offend, you know, pay the price. Do the time. You did the crime. Do the time. Don't try to weasel out of it. You did it, do it. He says, ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. So here we go, getting into adultery. And keep in mind that there is a difference between fornication and adultery. I know a lot of people put them together, but they're actually different. So keep in mind that they are different. It says, but I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that only that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. If thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. Adultery is done through people in committed relationships and marriage. It's possible to have a committed relationship outside of marriage without fornicating. That does mean abstinence is the proper way, but you can still have a one-on-one committed relationship with somebody outside of marriage, and keep it holy, if you will. But it says if somebody looks upon a woman and lusts after her, if you see a man sees a woman, or a woman sees a man, they're married or the others are married, and they have improper thoughts, they're already guilty of that sin. Don't find yourself in that position. And it says, now this don't mean take a spoon and dig your eye out, okay? It says if your right hand offend thee, pluck it out. It's saying if there's something there that puts you in that spot, say you like going to certain type of establishments, but in those establishments, this type of stuff is before you. Get rid of it. Maybe it's TV shows on a TV that you're watching. Quit watching the TV shows, or altogether get rid of the TV. Quit watching it. You know, if there's things that are going to cause you to sin, that's going to cause you to have impure thoughts, going to cause you to think ways you should not be thinking, that may very well risk your soul, get rid of it. It's not worth it anyway. Put it behind you. Do away with it. That it's been said that whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. Moses created the law of divorce back in the Old Testament. God did not create the law of divorce. God does not like divorce. That's just how it is. I know there's a lot of people that's remarried out there. I'm one of them. But God does not like divorce. It's in his word. We have to live by it. We have to accept that. Okay. I can't sit here and tell you that God approves divorce when he doesn't, just because I'm divorced and remarried. That would be a lie. He doesn't like it. He says, but I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, committeth adultery. Jesus says that the only way for divorce to be to happen in his eyes and be legitimate is for the cause of fornication, cheating. Which causes her to commit adultery. Fornication leads to adultery, but fornication isn't the same as adultery. Fornication is this intercourse between two people that aren't married. Adultery comes when one happens to be married. That's the difference. He says that whosoever shall marry her that is divorced committeth adultery. So if he puts her away, if the husband puts her away, divorces her, whoever she remarries is guilty of adultery as well in Jesus' eyes. And that's the way things are. Now, and this ain't a loophole, I'm just saying there is forgiveness for sins afterwards. You know, God doesn't agree with divorce. You know, you're out in the world, you get married, you get divorced, you get remarried, you get in church, you ask for forgiveness, God forgives you. That sin's forgiven. It's not a loophole. It's just God is merciful. Jesus is giving us teaching here that he's saying this is the only way that it's acceptable, or that I find it acceptable, that it will be acceptable, is if this happens. He said again, "You have heard that it has been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths." Does any of these things sound familiar that he's going through? Part of them coming out of the Ten Commandments, maybe? Does that sound familiar to you? He's kind of working his way through the laws here a little bit. But you should not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. Don't worship other idols. Don't oath yourself to something outside of God. He says, "But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black. But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil." You are God's. You are his creation. He created you, whether you like to admit it or not, or whether you want to believe it or not. He created you. You are his. Do not worship anything else or anybody else. And let me just tell you that it's very simple to look at this. If you put anything before God, you're worshiping that. I know people, and this may offend somebody, I know people that couldn't sit through a church service without having to take smoke breaks. Those cigarettes or whatever they're smoking out there is being worshiped over God. They couldn't wait an hour and a half. They would take a smoke break before service started, and they would have to take one in the middle. And then they go out and smoke on the way home. If you can't wait that long, you've got a habit you need a break. If you can't dedicate an hour and a half of your day to God, you're putting something in front of him, and that is sin. You're worshiping that over sin. If you can't spend time with God because your favorite TV show's on, you're putting that TV show over God. If you can't do it because your favorite radio program is on, you're doing that over God. If you can't do it because you're doing this or you're doing that, or you're putting those things before God, you are worshiping those things, and you are not worshiping God. That is a sin. It don't matter what it is. And God expects that to be above family, friends, self, everything. He comes first, regardless. It don't matter what it is. Like it or lump it, that's how it is. He should be first. Because here's the thing. If you continue to put God first, if you put him first in your life, you serve him as you should, he's going to help make available to you ways to be able to do these things. You know, make sure you have time with your family. Make sure you're doing this. Now, he's not going to make sure that you have time to go to concerts because you like concerts, as long as you're serving him well and your favorite rock group is in. Be realistic. But he will make sure that you're able to have time with your family. He will work everything out for you if you just live for him. Put him first. He'll handle it from there. That's all you got to do is put your faith in him. That's all he asks. So it says, let your yeas be yea and your nays be nay. Speak the truth. Okay? He says, you've heard that it have been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. Remember how we talked earlier about being merciful and forgiving? Here we go again. Turn the other cheek. It's not up to us to strike back. It's not up to us to take revenge on somebody. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth is God. He just said, I'll repay the vengeance. Don't you worry about it. You live how I told you to live. Let me handle the getting even. There's a funny story. There was a guy that he was a well-known fighter in his area. Big guy, brute, tough. He was known for his cruelty in the ring. And he hurt quite a few people. And he was known for being able to take a punch too. Well, all of a sudden one day, this guy gets up after a fight and says, I'm announcing my retirement. I have found the Lord. I'm not into fighting anymore. I'm hurting people. I don't enjoy this. God told me it's time to give this up. And he walked away from fighting. This man lived a Christian life. He did what he go to work, go to the store when he needed to, come home, lived his best life, stayed in shape, things like that, took care of himself. One night he was walking to his car and a guy comes up to mug him. While standing there, the guy that's mugging him decides to punch him in the face. Why? I don't know. Punched him in the face. And the guy just stands there and looks at him. Then the mugger decides to punch him again from the other side, hits him with a left and a right. Well, when that happens, the guy stands back up straight, looks at the mugger, and begins to take his coat off. And the guy says, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, the Bible says to turn the other cheek, but it doesn't say what to do after that." I think he was about to put it to hurting on him. But anyway, funny story. But it says turn the other cheek. Forgive. Same thing. You know what I mean? Don't retaliate. People are going to come at you. If you notice when Jesus was being held, when he went before Pilate, when he before all the questions and everything they had, and how they tried to get him to trip up and condemn himself with his own words, he kept silent. He kept his mouth closed. Only said what needed to be said when it was important to be said, and that was it. We need to just keep our silence. When people come at us, when they poke, when they prod, when they try to get us to act out, trip up, say things we shouldn't, that's when we need to just be quiet, let the Spirit work, and let God do his thing, because he will handle that for us. He says, "And if any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. If he takes your coat, give him your shirt off your back. Let him have it." He says, "Whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Somebody asks you to walk with him a mile, go two. Go the extra mile. Do more than what's expected. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away." Don't turn anybody away. Anybody that asks, give him to him. I have a bad habit. We have a lot of panhandlers around here. And many moons ago, old people used to say, there was a guy outside of a local Kroger, and he was out there, and he had a sign that said, "We'll work for food." Well, I didn't have any work for him to do, but I went to McDonald's. I bought a couple double cheeseburgers and a Coke, and I brought it back to him, and I gave it to him. I turned around and then pulled out. I didn't ask for anything in return, but I pulled out. As I was pulling out in my mirror, I seen him take those hamburgers and that Coke and throw it directly in the trash. He did not eat them. That made me mad. I said, I'll never buy anything like that for any of those people again. There's several of them in that area that had a reputation that people would take pictures of them at Walmart buying big TVs, flat screen TVs to take home to put in their living room from the money that they gained panhandling. That is a pet peeve for me. I don't like it. It gets to me. You're stealing money. And one of the worst things you could ever do is I think the worst of thieves and liars. Okay. It's probably something I need to work on, but that's how I am. But I won't give money, or I won't give money, but I won't buy food for anybody like that either. And every time I see somebody on the side of the road with a cardboard box, no matter how sad or bad they make themselves look, I'm like, it's not real. They're faking it to get money. Because the people would brag about how much they make a year doing that. And I'm instantly like, I don't want to be duped, so I'm not doing it. But in reality, that should be shame on me. Because how do I know that they're not really there needing the help? So give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow from thee, turn not thou away. Don't turn them away. If they're doing something wrong, God will take care of it. Okay. He says, you've heard that it hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. He said, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Love your enemies. Want them to do better. Want them to the word escaped me. Had the opposite experience, gave the guy the money and he immediately spent it on what he needed. See, that's what I'm saying. You don't know. And I probably definitely should not feel the way that I do, but after my experience, I feel that way. I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying I'm good for it. I'm not saying I'm in the right for it. I'm just saying, obviously, Scripture says, that's something I need to work on, and I'm willing to do that. But that was my experience with it. It says, love thy neighbor, hate thy enemy. It says, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain unto the just and unto the unjust. He is a just judge. So don't hate anybody, but love everybody. If God hated individuals, and if God hated individuals, any individual on this earth, if he hated anybody on this earth, Jesus would not have died on the cross. Now, I know there's people that tell certain individuals that live a certain lifestyle, God hates you, you're this, you're bad, you're that, you're an abomination, blah, blah, blah. If you're one of those, stop saying it. God loves each and every single soul on this earth. Does he agree with or like their lifestyle? Does he like their life choices? He does not. But Jesus did not die so that only certain people could make it to heaven. He died so that everybody could. Even those with the alternate lifestyles. Quit telling people God hates them. If you do that, shame on you. I have no respect for you to do that, especially as a Christian. You should be doing nothing but confessing the love of God for people. I ain't saying accept their lifestyles. I ain't saying that you have to agree with it. I'm just saying quit telling people that God hates them when the Bible says that their lifestyle is an abomination, not them individuals, not the souls. He loves the souls. Exactly. He loves everybody. If he didn't love you, he wouldn't send Jesus down to die with you. And if he hated one, if there was one single soul on this earth he hated, Jesus wouldn't have come down, because he'd have said, nope, that'd be the one that would accept it, and I ain't taking that risk. Listen, we're all filthy. As mankind, we are all filthy. We are all covered in sin. We have all screwed up. There is no one sin greater than the other, because if you have one spot, whether it be a white lie or something more severe, you're still not going to heaven. It's going to be no different. Show people the love of God. You don't have to accept their lifestyles, but you have to let them know that Jesus loves them. You gotta. That's just the only way it is. It says, for if you love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. If you're only saluting, if you're only doing good things for your family, for your brother, and that's the only people you love, what good are you doing? Because the publicans, they hang out in their own little clique. They only like one another and then show everybody else the rest. But if you can show somebody outside of that circle that you love them, if you can show one of those people that you love them and that you want them to make it to heaven, imagine the change and the effect that you're going to have on people that pass by. People's going to say, look, there's something different about that individual because this person, everybody else is hating, this crowd of people that everybody else is shunning because they're different, they're not like them. They're going over and interacting with them. They're showing them kindness. They're showing them love. They're showing them mercy. Why are they doing that? What makes that individual different that they're willing and able to go do that? Because the only thing that's going to do is open up the opportunity for you to look at somebody and say, what makes me different is Jesus Christ. Jesus living inside me has changed my life. He saved my soul. And then you get to witness about what God has done for you and the life-changing miracle that has happened when Christ came into your life. You get to tell them about the greatness of God, something that nobody else on this world has. Show the love. Listen, it's not, we make it way more complicated than it is. It's not hard to be nice to somebody. We think for whatever reason, we feel like being nice to everybody is so hard. It's only good to be nice to people who are nice to us. It's so easy being nice to people. I seen somebody had a post up there on social media earlier that says, who actually still says excuse me when they accidentally bump into somebody? Most people will bump into you and be like, watch it. Instead of saying, oh, sorry, even if it wasn't your fault. Maybe they did bump into you. Hey, sorry about that. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Nobody got hurt. You know? It's not that big a deal. Be nice. Say something nice. You don't have to be rude. It doesn't have to be a conflict or a confrontation every single time something happens in life. And especially if you don't know them or even if you don't like the individual, you don't have to be at war. It don't have to be that way. As Christians, we shouldn't be that way. We're supposed to be different from the world. We're supposed to be something completely separate than what this world has to offer and show ourselves to be different from what this world has to offer. Nobody in this world offers love anymore. Jesus is still offering love. He's still offering mercy. As long as this world still exists, as long as people still breathe, as long as the sun still rises and sets, there's an opportunity. People still have a chance. Only once when he calls the church home and the end of days happens and all that other stuff, only then will it be too late. But for now, he's saying now is the time. Today is the day of salvation. This is your opportunity. Get yourself where you need to be. Listen, he created this plan so that nobody would perish. The only individuals that are supposed to be destroyed when this world ends is the devil and his angels, his followers. The idea was for everybody else to make it into heaven. Everybody. That's why he made one path and he made it narrow. So you don't get confused. It goes in one direction. It's real thin. You can't get lost on it. And it leads to one door. It's a simple path to follow. Jesus came down and showed us that this path was possible to follow. It's possible to walk. Just walk it. But we complicate it. So that's what he's saying here in chapter 5. He says this is the attitudes and the characteristics of Christian behavior. This is where it starts. This is the foundation of it. Begin here and continue to walk. Go on. And don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about the rest of the stuff, because this is going to be in my hands. I'm going to take care of everything else. All you do is walk this path and walk the way I show you to walk. That's all you got to do. We don't have to focus on anything else in this world but the path that he laid before us. Focus on that and you're good. Don't let anything else distract you. My mom always talked about having the blinders they used to put on horses. That way they wouldn't stray off to the side. They put blinders on. She always talked about she wanted her spiritual blinders to keep her on the right path. Kept her from looking from side to side, but kept her looking straight at the path and walking forward. That's how you have to think about it. Put on spiritual blinders and walk the forward path. That's what's important. And that's what Jesus is saying here. This is the beginning of it. He's simplifying it. He's making it easier. And he's saying all you got to do is just follow the straight and narrow. Okay? All right. That is chapter 5. We will pick up next week with chapter 6. We actually went about 53 minutes this time. It's not bad. We started about 6 minutes late. We waited about 6 minutes to get started, though, to let people get in here. So not bad, not bad. About 45 minutes. Good time, though. Good read. This is a good chapter. I like the Beatitudes. I like reading through them. There's a lot of good stuff in there. It's a lot of the groundwork, the foundation work of what it means to be a Christian and how we should behave. And I don't think they're read and studied enough in churches. I think they're skimmed over. Or a lot of people just don't pay attention because there is not a lot of Christian behavior, true Christian behavior out in the world anymore. So, if I said anything tonight to offend you, that's on you, because we went through the word. So if the word offends you, it's not my fault. It's yours. Live up to it. The only thing I know to tell you on that one. It sounds rude, but the word is what it is. So, and I ain't going to teach you nothing but the truth. But it's a good read. If you want to go back and reread it, go back there and look at it again, see what it says. If you missed part of this, go back and read the first part of chapter 5. Let it sink into your brain and get what it's saying. So, but all right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all. That's going to be it for tonight. We will be back next Monday at 6 p.m. and we will be doing chapter 6 in the book of Matthew. We're going right down the road, right down the way. So, if you want to be ahead of the game, ahead of the game. That's a funny play on your name. Anyway, if you want to go ahead, read it, be ready. If you have questions, have questions ready. We'll try to answer questions. Does anybody have any questions about tonight's reading? Everything good with tonight's? Thanks, Lee. Have a good night, man. Yeah, that's true. You don't know what somebody's going through. Yep. All right. No questions? All right, guys. Well, I appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. I will see you guys next week at 6 o'clock. We'll do it again and we will go through